Give me 1 sec for all of you guys there. I'm getting everything set up. All right. Let's see. Now, why is this not showing up? Shouldn't this show up? Here we go. Okay, there we go. Alright guys, hey everyone that's here. I'm just making sure this is, hey, give me 1 second here. I'm setting everything up. I'm making sure it's live. We're going to start at 3 o'clock. So let me make sure this is not in real time, is it? What's up guys? Hey, I can see all of your comments. Moplay, Shaquille, I see you. Louis, I see you. We're going to start the content in 3 minutes. We're doing our first live session. So all of you guys, keep up the comments. Let me know where you're from down there as well. I want to see what country. Shouting out from Germany, another German. There we go. Nice. What other countries do we have represented? Okay, yeah, we're going to be covering how to become an impact player. So give it 2 minutes. I'm going to wait for everyone to come here. We got Honduras, Somalia, good old USA. We got England in here, Scotland and Ireland, Finland. Wow, there's a lot of countries represented right now. This is awesome. Burundi, Spain, whoa. You guys are all over the place. Really good stuff. Okay guys, so I'm just gonna go over really quick a little bit how this live session works. You can put your comments in there. What we're gonna do is we're going to cover the initial stuff that I have planned for you guys today. Then we're gonna open it up to Q&A. So any questions that you have, we're going to answer at the end in as much detail as we can. So keep those questions coming. I'm gonna be looking at the comments. I'm also gonna adjust this because it's a little off. Let's see if that does. Tell me in the comments, guys, you can hear me perfectly fine, right? Someone just tell me that you can hear me. Anyone in there? Or did the comments just go black or blank here? Yes, okay, cool. All right, so we're gonna start in 1 minute. I can. All right, perfect. We're gonna start in a minute. Looks like plenty of you are online, so get your questions ready for the end. What we're covering today is how to become an impact player. So essentially, this is the player that actually has an influence in matches, has a positive impact in matches, not negative, because we don't want any of that going on. We want you to be having positive impacts in matches. We're going to go over different positions and exactly what it means to have an impact in matches, because this might be different. Some people might say this is different than it actually is. Okay. So let's get right into it. As you guys know, I'm Dave here from SimplySoccer, where we're helping you to improve your game and stand out on the pitch. And we release daily videos like this every single day on soccer techniques, tips, methods that are here to help you improve. Now, this is our first live video, so hopefully it goes well. We're gonna hopefully get out all the kinks so future live videos can be even better. And remember to get your questions ready. So we got some more people coming in now. All right, awesome, guys. So let's get right into this. I want to first explain what I think an impact player is and how you can start to become one. So an impact player, essentially, your position does not matter. You can be an impact player as a striker. You can be an impact goalkeeper. You don't need to be a specific position to have an impact. There's a difference between maybe being a standout and an impact player, but to be an impact player, to me, is being able to be someone who's influential in your position. So to me, it doesn't matter what position you are. You can have impact players as a goalkeeper, and you can obviously have impact players as a striker, a winger, a center mid, a center defensive mid. It can be a very specific role that you're playing. You can still have an impact in your matches. So one of the things, and how I want to try and describe what being an impact player is to you, is put it this way. If you were taken out of your team, so if let's say you're a right back, if you were taken out from the right back position, would there be a difference between you and the player coming in? Pretty much, if you were injured, would your coach be going, oh my God, no, not him. How are we going to replace him? How are we going to get someone in who can have as much of an impact as that person? Will you be missed? If we look at a lot of professional teams, if you take, say, a Sanchez out of Arsenal, you take we can go to extremes and say a Messi out of Barcelona, a Ronaldo out of Real Madrid, all these top players, if you take them out, there's a noticeable difference. So to me, if you take a player out of a team and there's a noticeable difference, that's an impact player. He's someone who comes in and has a positive impact on the matches. Okay, so let's go over kind of briefly each position and what I think being an impact player in each of those positions is, because it's different for every position. Obviously, a center back's impact in a positive way is going to be much different than a striker's impact in a match. So we'll start at striker since I'm personally a striker, and we'll go from there. So think of any striker that you look up to, a striker like Luis Suarez, a Lewandowski. You can look at strikers in the past like Didier Drogba, Thierry Henry. What are some of the attributes that these players had that made them indispensable to their team? And look beyond just scoring goals. There's more nuanced stuff that they would do that made them impact players. They would go into games, and even in games when they didn't score, for the most part, they would have an incredible impact on the match to the point where it made the difference for their team. If any of you watch the Premier League, which I'm sure, since I see a lot of you are from the UK, are probably watching the Premier League, you'll know I'm a Liverpool fan, and the Liverpool-Tottenham game, Jurgen Klopp said something I think is pretty eye-opening after the match, and he was talking about Roberto Firmino. Now, he said something along the lines of that he's never seen a striker, and Firmino's not technically a striker, but he was playing in that position. He said he's never seen a striker not score a goal yet have such a huge impact on the match. Meaning you don't need to always be scoring goals to have it. There's much more to a striker's game and every other position we're going to go over that can help you have an impact in your matches. So for a striker, obvious one is scoring goals. But sometimes when that's not going on, you can still make it that you're having an influence. You look at a player like Giroud, I actually think someone put it in the comments. Giroud's not a player who scores how many goals? I don't know. When's the last time he had a 20-goal season? I don't know. But the reason he's put in by Arsenal sometimes is because he can come on and have an impact. He can hold the ball up. He can flick the ball on. He can do different things to a speedy, quick striker or more technically gifted striker. So if you're like me and you're a tall guy and you're, worried that you can't beat players one-on-one with speed or make those dashing runs into space, rest assured there's something that you can do to have an impact. So for a striker, these are the main things for me. Obviously, goal scoring. You've got to be a goal scorer. 2, have some form of creativity. Be able to beat a player one-on-one. I talk about your 3 moves all the time. For a striker, I really think you should have 3 moves that help you create that yard of space that's either going to help you put a teammate in or, more importantly, get that shot on target. 3, Luis Suarez, watch him play because he does something that every single striker could be doing but don't. And that's harass the defenders. He defends from the front. Any striker can do this, but not every striker does. It doesn't take any amount of talent or skill to be able to do this. It all comes down to work ethic. And that kind of level of commitment is something that has a huge impact on matches, and coaches love that. You look at Jurgen Klopp or Liverpool, again, to use them as an example. One of the reasons Mario Balotelli, who's a fantastically talented striker, didn't really work out there, besides maybe poor attitude or something like that, he didn't do the work. We needed someone who would defend from the front, and he wouldn't do that, okay? So to be an impactful striker, start working on those things. Start studying strikers that you like, that play similar to your style, and look out for the small things as well. What do they do that causes them to go into matches and have an impact? So let's see. Long shot video. Claudio Ranieri was fired. That was we're not going to talk about that, but that was kind of a bummer. Let's go over a winger now. How can you have an impact in matches as a winger? Now, there's a few things I think all wingers should have. And I don't think you need to be fast to be a winger, just so you know. There's been plenty of wingers with modest to average speed that have been very effective and impactful in matches. Now, the one thing you need to be able to do, in my eyes, consistently is be able to whip that ball in. There's nothing more frustrating, especially coming from a striker's perspective, than a winger who can't cross the ball to save his life. That either goes over everyone or can't beat the first man. Now, there's more to a striker's game, but for me, a winger that has an impact on a match is a winger who can put in a good ball, who can beat his man on the line, who can combine with his striker or someone else. And that, to me, is that. And again, with the wingers, 3 moves. You should have 3 moves, some that take you to the byline, meaning you can do a step over, some other move that will take you to that byline to whip in that cross. And you should have moves that allow you to cut inside to either combine with your striker or other advanced players, or to take the shot yourself. Okay, we're going to keep moving along through positions because we don't have too much time. And keep your questions to the end. I see a few more. I see your questions down there. Okay, so center mid. What makes a center mid an impactful player? Now, center mid's an interesting one because there's many different types of center midfielders. There's holding players. There's more advanced players. You can think of goal-scoring midfielders like a Gerrard or a Lampard. So there's different kinds. But there are a few things that you probably need to have in order to become an impact midfielder who's going to get a lot of game time and who's going to make their mark on matches. You don't need to be a Pogba type player to be an effective or impactful center midfield player. So number one, obviously you need some creativity going on. Now for certain midfield players, like maybe more withdrawn players, more players who are meant to break down the play like a center defensive mid, creativity is not the one thing you need perhaps, although it would definitely help to have it. But if you're a more advanced player, if you're a player who is, your team's looking for you to pull the strings, is looking for you to play your striker in or your wingers, or really, pull the strings from the middle of the park, you need to have that creativity because sideways and backwards passes, although necessary at times to keep possession, isn't going to have you standing out or having impact in matches. Remember, we want to have impact in matches. We can be a squad player, we can be a solid player, and sometimes you'll have games like that where you just had, a decent game. But we want to move up a level and have performances consistently that have a huge effect on the match, to actually in a positive way help your team. So for center mids, you need to take a risk sometimes. That means trying that through ball. That means trying that maybe audacious ball every now and then. I'm not saying go crazy and lose possession all the time. What I'm saying is you do need to take a risk in the center of the park sometimes. Try those through balls, combine with teammates, maybe even take that player one-on-one and unleash a shot every now and then. Do those things that maybe not other players are doing, because most players, especially at the non-professional level, levels I played at maybe collegiately or at amateur level, at any level, most players at those levels don't take risks at all. It's all like the same player. It's like 22 of the same player. All just going around, little passes, just maintain possession, and maybe the game will end 1-0 because someone gets lucky. You always notice the player who's actually trying to do things, the player who's taking players on, being direct, and is trying to thread passes. So for center mid, again, start looking at center mids that you want to play like. Who is your center mid hero? Who is your center mid that your game reflects, that you actually play like? Start studying that player and start not just noticing what they do with the ball, but what they do without it. Okay. We still have some questions. All right, we're gonna go a little faster here. So right back and left back. In today's modern game, outside backs are used in a much more attacking sense than they were in the past. It used to be, if you were a solid defender, you could track back, you could stop and break up plays as a right back or left back. That was good enough. But that's not good enough in today's game. You have to be able to put in good crosses. You have to be able to fly down that wing up and back. It's become a very demanding position because you can't neglect your defensive responsibilities when you're one of the four in the back. So for right backs, my biggest thing is learn positional sense. Because the worst thing you can really do in any defensive position, this goes for most positions, but definitely along the defensive line, positioning is so important, especially if you're playing like an offside line or you're trying to track someone. Your positioning needs to be spot on. So that's one area definitely to look at if you're struggling in that area. 2, from an attacking sense, I always think a right back and left back, like a winger, should have at least competent crossing. They should be able to cross the ball effectively. Because again, when you're going to have many opportunities in the attack, especially from that position, to cross the ball in, and for all of you attacking players who have made that run into the box only for your player to play you a really crappy cross over and over and over again, it's not a good thing. It's very frustrating, especially for those of you guys who are strikers who can attest to this. It's very frustrating when you're not getting any good service whatsoever. And it's not really your fault. And usually the main thing is because wingers and right backs and left backs are not practicing their crossing as much as they should be. So if you are in that position, work on your crossing. Work on your delivery. Work on how you connect with the ball so that you're whipping in those balls well. And just to kind of add on this, you don't need to be a winger or a right back to work on your crossing. You look at a player like Kevin De Bruyne, his delivery and crossing is sensational, and he usually plays in a more central position. Okay, so moving right along, center back. Now, center back isn't going to be a position that has too much flair most of the time. Usually, to be an impactful player as a center back, you want to make sure you just do your job well. This includes keeping your position. This includes knowing when to close someone down, knowing when to back off, and knowing when to go into the tackle, knowing when to cause a foul strategically. There's a lot that goes into this, and it's a really unforgiving position because if you make a mistake as a center back, that can lead to a goal or sometimes a red card or something of that nature. So it's a very disciplined position, which can be a struggle for a lot of players. But if you are a center back, really, your biggest job is going to be on the defensive end. Don't try and go too fancy with it. I know it's not like glamorous to be the defensive rock at the back, but teams need those players. You look at any team that had their main center back taken out, what happens? They usually go on a run of conceding goals. You can look, again, I'm going to keep using Liverpool examples because that's the one thing I can think of. When Matip wasn't able to play because of that crazy thing that was going on with FIFA and his eligibility because he wasn't going to the African Cup of Nations, we started losing a lot of games. And it may have not been solely down to him, but we felt his presence missed. We felt that his presence was missed. And that, to me, again, is an impact player. You take him out, and you feel the difference. And again, this is what we want to work you up to be. Now, I'll cover goalkeeper as well. Obviously, for a goalkeeper, you can definitely have an impact in matches. How do we know this? Well, look at a goalkeeper like De Gea, a Courtois, a Casillas in his prime, a Cech in his prime. These were some of the best, a Buffon as well. I mean, there's many others. But the reason these names come to mind is because they were impact players. They kept their team in games. They didn't make many mistakes. That's a huge one for goalkeepers, not making mistakes. They knew when to rush out and come and dive down at a player's feet. They knew when to come for crosses and things like that. So for a goalkeeper, those are some of the things you should be looking at. Now, I'm not a goalkeeper, so there's definitely information that you should be looking at. That's not for me. Someone keeps asking me to make a goalkeeping video, and I'm not making that anytime soon simply because I'm going to get a coach who's actually a goalkeeping coach to give you some tips because I'm not a goalkeeper. I'm not the best person to be giving you advice on that. Okay, so let's take a look at some comments. I'm going to cover a couple more areas, but I want to see what's in here. Okay, SimplySoccer, do a long shots video. I actually do have a long shots video. If you take a look, look up how to shoot a soccer ball with power and accuracy. That video will help you out. Okay, so let's move right on. Okay, so here's pretty much the last thing we're going to cover. Then we're going to move on to your questions, okay? So, the mental side of the game. This is an area I cover a lot on this channel. Whether it's on confidence, whether it's on belief systems, whether it's on your mindsets and going into a game, whether it's strategies like visualization and things like that. Here's basically the main takeaway from the mental side and being a good player, an impact player, or anything like that, a standout player. If you can't get the mental, which you can, but if you don't have the mental side under control, you will struggle to consistently have impact in matches. And I used to be a player like this all the time. Like I would be hot and cold all the time, especially back when I was in school, because I would be confident for a few games and then something would happen and my confidence would go low and I was like a completely different player. It's that important, all the impactful players, you think of all the great players, you think of like the Ronaldos, the Messis, the Hazards, the players like this, or anyone at the top level really, they have their mental side, kind of shored up. They are extremely confident and have self-belief, and this allows them to keep performing at a high level. So you need to have confidence. Now, there's videos I've done that can go over this. There are other things you can do, and the good news for you is if you're not a confident player, don't stress out about that. You can 100% learn confidence. There's so many studies you can look at, so much evidence to support that confidence is not an innate or a genetic thing. Confidence is a learned skill, meaning you can work on your confidence. Now, one thing that's going to help your confidence, and if you're not doing this enough, you need to start doing this, is just practicing. Just by practicing and becoming more skilled and more competent, you start gaining more trust in your own ability. I use this example all the time. Who do you think is going to be more confident in taking penalties? The player that over the week practices penalties hundreds of times, or the player who practiced it not at all? When both of them step up to take a penalty, one's going to be extremely more confident than the other. And that's such a simple example, but usually the simple stuff is the stuff that rings true. So if you are lacking in confidence, yes, there's a lot of mental things you can do. There's a lot of, things you can do as far as your belief systems. But one of the biggest things that's going to help you is just getting out there and practicing consistently. And that's basically the last thing we're going to go over is if you want to be an impact player, and I know I go over this so often. Consistency, momentum, discipline, you gotta be making progress. So basically here's the formula if you wanna do that. First, you have to be consistently practicing. You have to be practicing, if not every day, close to every day. Now you have to be strategic with this because as far as every day goes, you need rest. You do need rest. I mean, there are professional players take rest, collegiate players take rest. You can't be going 100% every single day because your body will tire out, it'll wear down, and you'll end up injuring yourself. But you need to get to a point where you have that balance. And maybe you do, certain things on some days, and then you rest, and then you do other things that you need to cover. You need that balance. You need to be doing this consistently, which will build your momentum, that's what's really going to help you improve to such a level that it will blow you away. The reason we do 30-day challenges on this channel and why we're going to continue doing them is because I want to show you that if you stick to something for 30 days and you keep that consistency and momentum going, the results from just 30 days, that's only a month, which is a relatively short amount of time, the progress you can make in that time is immense. And what I'm hoping is that by you doing that, it encourages you to keep going and keep making progress. And the last thing on that is discipline. And this is something that I've struggled with. I think this is one of the biggest sticking points for players is discipline, is having the discipline to keep going and having the persistence to keep going when things get tough. When things aren't going your way, when you have a bad game, still getting up that next day and practicing, still getting up that next day and doing your morning routine. That takes a lot of discipline, but if you can put all of those together, if you can keep your discipline, if you can remain consistent, if you can build up that momentum, I had one other for you, and you can keep making progress, which means challenging yourself, then you will see massive improvement. And that's how you're going to become more of an impact player, through those massive improvements in your confidence and in your ability overall. Okay, so let's see here. All right, guys, so we're going to do a Q&A now. I want you to keep putting your questions out here. I have a few coming in here. Try and keep it related to the topic at hand. I'm soon starting to play soccer. How do I play left wing, or at least how should I? Okay, what's that from Logan Winkler? Okay, so you're just starting out. I do have a video for wingers on the channel, so definitely check that out. I would say for the biggest thing for you to do right now, again, like I was just going over, is start practicing as close to a daily basis as possible. Now, it's going to be frustrating at first, I get it, because when you're starting anything new, I mean, I could start something new like, I don't know, play baseball or something else right now, and I would probably suck at it, and it would be really frustrating. But find a way to challenge yourself a little bit enough each day so that it's not overwhelming, bite-sized pieces, small wins every day, so it's not overwhelming, but that you're still challenging yourself. And definitely check out that winger video because it will give you an idea of what you need to keep improving. Okay, I want to learn how to beat large defenders. Green Alpha, do you mean like strong defenders, like muscular, or do you mean something else? Let's see here, 319. So we got about 10 minutes for questions here. If you're talking about strong, like muscular guys, just recognize that you do not need to be huge in order to play this sport. If you look at some of the smaller players, it's not that they're huge. I mean, they are muscular to a certain degree, but your body type is going to determine that a lot. You look at like a Raheem Sterling, for example. This dude is tiny, but if you watch him protect the ball, he's able to do it because he knows how to use your body. A lot of the time, it doesn't come down to your size. It comes down to how you use your body. Protect the ball. Get low to the ground. That's a big thing. Get low to the ground if you're trying to protect the ball. That makes you more sturdy and makes it harder for people to push you off the ball. In the meantime, I don't know how old you are, and I don't see your comment coming up, but you can still do some body weight exercises and things to kind of strengthen up a little bit. But I don't know how old you are, so I don't want to recommend any exercises until I know that, because weight training I would only recommend for a specific age, and body weight training, I'm not sure if there's a age too young for that. Okay, so let's get a few questions. All right, we got Mr. Lemon. I want to start playing football again after 4 years. Any tips? Guys, put at SimplySoccer for your questions, because that makes it easier for me to find your questions. Okay, so I think he said I haven't played in 4 years, so what can I do? Again, it's just get started. with all of these things, like the answer is usually pretty simple, but get started. You know, I've been injured for long periods of time, not 4 years, but I was injured for 8 months at one time, and coming back, you know, it sucked because I'd lost all of 8 months of, you know, basically had to get myself back up to where I was, and it sucks. But the biggest thing is just get started and keep going, you know, and don't try and bite off more than you can chew. Start at a level you can manage and do small wins every single day. It's not what you do all at once that's going to help you get better. It's what you do on a daily basis. So 30 minutes to an hour of training daily may not seem like much, but you do that for a whole week in a row, it starts to add up. You do that for 2 weeks in a row, 3 weeks in a row, 4 weeks in a row, and suddenly you've been practicing to a point where you're seeing improvements. So I hope that makes sense for you. Okay. What is the best tip for a 12-year-old soccer player who wants to become a pro at #SimplySoccer? Again, is there what happened? Bug. Either you guys are saying there's a bug behind me on my face. I'm gonna look at the camera. Is there a bug on me? Or what is this? What happened? I'm gonna keep going, although. Troll bug. Oh, okay, it's a troll. All right. I don't know what happened. Again, this is my first live stream, so I have no idea what's going on. Can you make more videos about full training sessions? I saw that question before the constant stream of bugs went through there. Yes, I will definitely be making some more full training sessions for you guys. It's gotten warmer here. It was actually very warm here today, so I will be making stuff like shooting sessions for you, more move sessions, dribbling, and just kind of general sessions too, where I cover a lot of different things. So as far as this bug thing goes, I don't know what that is. So any more questions? Let's answer, we'll answer a couple more questions. Okay, how far from the defender do I need to be to beat them? Well, it's going to vary per situation. There's no, actually, no, let me answer this because a lot of you ask, like, how should I beat a defender? Like, how far away should I be? How fast should I be going at them? And the answer is it's going to vary. It depends on the situation. There'll be times when you need to run right at them, beat them for speed, get to the byline and get a cross in. And there'll be times when you need to go at them slowly and see what they're going to do and time it right. There'll be times when you need to react quickly because you maybe turn and there's a defender right there and you need to react and beat him quickly. And that's why drills like spontaneous dribbling are really good because it teaches you to react in those situations. So the answer to that is there is no perfect way to beat a defender. What you want to do is practice your skills to such a point that you can do them automatically. So I could turn right now and a defender could be running towards me, but because I practice, say, my step overs enough, I can do it automatically without having to think, oh, is this the right time to beat them? So hopefully that makes sense. Was that Tyrese Smith? How to get off the bench? It's still a bug going around apparently. Here's the thing, man. If any of you are bench players who are doing this, the biggest thing you can do again is show your commitment, work hard, and keep improving. Now, I don't know the situation with your coaches or anything like that. I understand maybe it might be a situation where there's favoritism going on, especially if there's a young player. But the thing about that is it does not help you to think that way. The only thing you can do is control what you do. Meaning, keep your practice up, keep your training up, keep working hard. Don't get disheartened because it's not going to help you specifically. If you want to get off the bench and get more game time, work your ass off, man. Start being consistent, work on whatever areas of your game are weak and you need to get up there so that you can start starting matches. And the big thing is then when you get into the games, do your best to perform. I would say work on your confidence if it's an area you need to work on, because one of the biggest reasons players probably don't perform in matches well isn't necessarily because they're not skillful. I played with many really skillful, great players who weren't doing it in matches. That's a confidence thing. So again, I always try and I'll reiterate, the mental side, guys, of the game is 50% of your success. Actually, it's Zlatan Ibrahimovic actually said this. He said he thinks the game is 50% physical, but 50% mentality. And when a player of Ibrahimovic's stature and pedigree is saying something like this, I listen, and I recommend you do as well. Okay, let's see. All right, I'm going to answer one more question. Let me see. All right, we're getting a lot. All All right, hold on, guys. Keep them coming. The chat is just going super fast, so it's hard to pick out a question here. Everyone keeps saying bug. All right, someone, once this is over, tell me what this bug thing is. All right, here we go. Here we go. Do you believe in this quote? Everybody can be masters at their craft. And all right, we'll end on that because that's an important thing. I know we're going off a little bit soccer, but this is important. So do you believe the quote, anyone can be a master of their craft? Yes, I do, actually. If you listen to people like Robin Sharma, and all you guys, I think, should look it up, becoming a master of your craft is incredibly important. And how do you do that? So in this case, it's soccer. Now, everything I've been going off, we're going to answer one question after this because this is not necessarily soccer related. But one way you do that, and practically the only way, is through consistent practice. Again, small daily wins. This is the way I want you to think about your practice. Don't think of it as, oh, there's this player on my team who's better than me. Or, I can never get to this level. Because when you're here and you're looking here, I understand that it's hard, it's daunting, it looks impossible, right? But if you're here and you go, well, what small thing can I do today to get to here? And then you're there. And then the next day you go, what small thing can I do to get to there? And then there. And this is how over time you begin to become a master of your craft. You do the small incremental wins every single day, and through consistency, it actually starts to become more like this because you build momentum. But in the beginning, it's gonna be small wins, very small, but over time it builds up. Let's say over time you're on a pretty bad team and you work hard and you get on a slightly better team. Then you keep working hard and you get on a really good team. And you keep working hard, you get on a college team. You get better and better the more consistent you are. And momentum, you can think of it like this. This is a very good analogy, actually. Think of momentum like this. In the beginning, it's like riding a bike up a hill and you're working and you're working and you're working. But if you stop, what happens? You roll down the hill. You go right back to the beginning. But if you go, you keep going, and you push through, eventually you get to that top of the hill, and then momentum takes you down the hill, and it becomes a lot easier. Okay? So, let's see. One more question. So, what's you? How long, okay. All right, I'm going to see, someone said, how long should you practice in a game? So this is going to be our last one. All right, guys, so how long should you practice a day, I should say, not in a game? So this is very important, actually. When I'm talking about consistency and momentum, essentially, you don't need to be practicing 3 hours a day to build that. Now, the more you practice, the better. Actually, let me rephrase that because that's not true. The longer you practice strategically, the better. But here's the thing. If you practice 4 or 5 hours a day, and you've never done that before, your body can't take that. You see, like, you might see a player who's practicing 3 hours a day and go, you know what, I want to do that. Well, if you have only been practicing twice a week up until that point, you can't do that yet. You can work up to that. So here's what I would say. Practice at least every day for 30 minutes, at least maybe 15 if you're just starting out, at the very least. Then you build up. So you can set up your week like this. Maybe one day you practice 30 minutes. Then on the next day you have a longer session of an hour or an hour and a half. Then you have more of a rest day, 15 minutes, go out there, get some touches on the ball. Then you have a more focused training the next day, it's an hour or so. Then a 15-minute one the next day, and then a rest day. The rest, guys, is as important as the actual training, because if you go into your next training tired, you're not going to get much out of that training. And here's a final point I'm going to leave you with on this one. And this is a point I learned from the Peak, which is a book by Anders Ericsson, which he is the expert on expert level performance. So here's what it is. 30 minutes of focused training where you are 100% engaged in your training, you are giving 100% of your effort, will be better than 2 hours of training where you're only half-assing it. Okay? So as soon as you lose your focus and you can't get it back, as soon as you are not engaged in what you're doing and you're daydreaming and you're thinking of other things and you're not focused on what you're doing, the practice ceases to really be beneficial. Meaning, I would prefer that you go out and do a hard 15-minute session where you're focused completely on what you're doing than to go out and just, lackadaisically move around for an hour. You see, that hour session is going to feel like more, but you're going to get more out of a focused 15-minute training. And a strategy I've been trying recently is doing 15 and 30-minute trainings 2 or 3 times a day. Instead of doing a whole hour and a half training, I'll do a certain training in the morning, another one in the afternoon, and one at night, because I've noticed that when I do an hour and a half or an hour training, I lose focus. I start daydreaming. When I start getting really, really tired, I start thinking of other things. I might be thinking about a video I have to make. I might be thinking about something I have to go do. So always remember, one, that how much training you do every single day will vary on where you are right now. So, some people will be doing more because they've been doing it longer. Their bodies are used to it. They can handle it. If you're just starting out, it will be less. But also realize that focus training always trumps unfocused training. Okay? So I hope that makes sense. I really do. And guys, I want to thank you for tuning in to our first live stream. This is the first one I've ever done, so I hope it was okay. For all of you who are asking questions, take a look at just some of the previous videos. There's a lot of videos that are going over some of the questions I wasn't able to get to. And guys, thank you so much for coming to this. I did not expect this many people to come. I'm really grateful for having all of you guys on the channel. I hope you got something out of this. I'm going to continue to keep working hard to make these better, because I do realize, especially when I get the opportunity to just talk without a script or without something that's stopping me, I kind of go off on a few tangents, and I did notice that, so I'm going to try and improve that for later. Alright guys, so I hope you have a wonderful evening or morning or wherever you are, because I know we got a lot of countries represented here. Thank you so much for watching. We will have a video out tomorrow at the usual time, and let me know, this will be on the channel, let me know in the comments what you thought of this. Thanks guys, and I'll talk to you later. Gotta go turn this off. Boop.